Okay, y'all. I know y'all like choice. It's way past 9, but let me explain to y'all what happened. So I got up late. That was the first thing. I actually woke up late. It was nothing else. I woke up late. I woke up at 7. When I wake up in the morning, I don't actually go. The first thing I do is not make a video. The first thing I do is I need to pray. I need to see clean up, and then I need to see if I have enough time to make a video. So I still gotta. I still have to wake my child up, make sure he showered, make sure he gets dressed, and make sure it's quiet when he does go to school. So if I'm not up before 7, then I'm not gonna make a video. Yeah, I probably don't know that, but that's what happened. Then I went to the store, and as I walk to the store, I see this tall young dude, not this old homeless dude out, like Floyd, talking about boom, one hit, he was down, he got up, homie said, and he was like, he ran, grabbed the pole, almost fell again. I was like, oh my goodness. But I didn't have my phone with me, so I couldn't call Popo. Or I most definitely would have. Most definitely would have. Took that down. Then, but before I had left, I had seen my main man. Then I had to talk to him, and he was like, oh, just go to the store, I'll talk to you when you get back. And I was like, I was going to the store anyway, but I saw you, and it made me remember what the fuck was going on. So, he came, he left. And then I was like, and then, I go through the whole, what am I going to read today? I know. You're like, Twist, what the fuck you mean? What are you going to read today? Y'all know, we doing the Lightning Thief. But then I remembered that I am in the middle of Left Behind. But I just started Left Behind. I'm in chapter 3 of Left Behind. I think I'm in chapter 4 of The Lightning Thief. Or maybe I'm at 5. I can't remember. No, I'm on chapter 4 of The Lightning Thief. And then I got 2 animes that I'm doing. Then, what the fuck? Oh, Sisterhood of the Blackberry Corner. That's got about 6 more videos left for that. So, at the end of the day, Sisterhood should be finished before the Left Behind. Well, actually, the Left Behind series is finna be cracking because I got a lot of videos. So let me stop fucking running my fucking mouth. If you left, I apologize. If you told your friends to subscribe because I wasted this fucking long starting on the fucking story, I completely understand. Chapter 3. Haiti, Dorm, and what was left of her cabin crew encouraged passengers to study the safety cars in their seat pockets. Many feared they would be unable to jump and slide down the chutes, especially with their carry-on luggage. They were instructed to remove their shoes and to jump seat first onto the chute. Then crew members would toss them their shoes and bags. They were advised not to wait in the terminal for their checked baggage that they were promised would eventually be delivered to their homes. No guarantees when. The world has just fucking ended. I'm not even worried about my fucking shit. I'm trying to figure out if my people's still alive. Buck Williams gave Haiti his card and got her phone number. Just in case I get through to your people before you do. You're with Global Weekly? She said. I had no idea. And you were going to send me to my room for tampering with the phone. She appears to be trying to smile. Oh, okay. I see something going on with a Haiti and a Buck. Okay. Sorry, Buck said. Not funny. I'll let you go. Always a light traveler. Buck was grateful he had checked no baggage. Never did. Not even on international flights. When he opened the bin to pull down his leather bag, he found an old man's hat and jacket still perched atop it. Harry's wife sat staring at Buck, her eyes full, jaw set. Ma'am, he said quietly, would you want these? The grieving woman gratefully gathered in the hat and coat and crushed them against her chest as if she would never let them go. She said something Buck couldn't hear. He asked her to repeat it. I can't jump out of any airplane, she said. Stay right here, he said. They sent someone for you. But will I still have to jump and slide down that thing? No, ma'am. I'm sure they'll have a lift of some sort. Buck carefully laid his laptop encasing among his clothes. With his bag zipped, he hurried to the front of the line, eager to show others how easy it was. He tossed his shoes down first, watching them bounce and skitter onto the runway. That's not making me want to jump. He said his shoes bounced and skittered onto the highway. I'm not wanting to jump down this chute. I'm with the old people. Is it safe? Then he clutched his bag across his chest, took a quick step, and threw his feet out in front of him. A bit enthusiastic. He landed not on his seat, but on his shoulders, which threw his feet over the top of his head. He picked up speed and hit the bottom with his weight shifting forward. The buggy whipped centipedal forward, slammed his stocking feet to the ground, and brought his torso up and over in a somersault that barely missed planting his face on the concrete. I told you, didn't seem like it was safe. I'm just saying. At the last instant, still hanging on to his feet for dear life, he tucked his head under and took aberration on the back of his neck rather than on his nose. He fought the urge to say, no problem, but he couldn't keep from rubbing the back of his head, already matted with blood. It wasn't a serious problem, only a nuisance. He quickly retrieved his shoes and began jogging toward the terminal, as much from embarrassment as need. He knew there would be no more hurrying once he hit the terminal. I know you embarrassed because you thought you was finna go down that bitch smooth. You should, first of all, you see how your shoes went down that motherfucker. You should have known you wasn't gonna go down that motherfucker smooth. Rayford, Christopher, and Haiti were the last three off the 747. Before disembarking, they had made sure all able-bodied people got down the chutes and that the elderly and infirm were transported by bus. The bus driver insisted the crew ride with him and the last passengers, but Rayford refused. I can't see passing my own passengers as they walk to the terminal, he said. How would that look? Christopher said, suit yourself, Cap. You mind if I take him up on his officer? On his offer? I ain't trying to walk, homie. I can grab the sick, I'm taking it. Ray glanced at him. You serious? I don't get paid enough for this. Like this was the airline's fault. Chris, you don't mean it. The heck I don't. By the time you get up there, you wish you were written too. I should write you up for this. Millions of people disappear into thin air, and I should worry about getting written up for writing instead of walking. Later, Stilly. Rayford shook his head and turned to Haiti. Maybe I'll see you up there. If you can get out of the terminal, don't wait on me. Don't wait for me. Are you kidding? If you're walking, I'm walking. You don't need to do that. After this dressing down you just gave Smith, I'm walking. Right? Homie. You just went in on Buddy. Like, what the fuck you mean? Everybody else walking. What's wrong with your feet? You can't fucking walk? Oh, I should write your goofy ass up. Yeah, we walking. But in the back of her mad, she's like, what? It's because I'm a girl. I'm a woman. He's first officer. He ought to be helping the last passenger off the ship and first to volunteer for emergency duty. Well, do me a favor and consider me part of your crew too. Just because I can't fly the thing doesn't mean I don't feel some ownership. And don't treat me like a little woman. What I tell you? I will never do that. Got your stuff? Haiti pulled her bag on wheels and Rayford carried his pilot's bag. It was a long walk, and several times they waved off offers of rides from units speeding out to pick up non-assembly. Along the way, they passed other passengers from their flight. Many thanked Rayford. He wasn't sure for what. For walking. You didn't have to walk, because I'm pretty sure they sent your peoples come through in the ride and was wondering if your ass wasn't in there. So to see that you was walking too, motherfuckers was like, you didn't have to. They think to themselves that he didn't have to. So you know what? I'm going to thank him for that. For not panicking, he guessed. But they looked as terrified and shell-shocked as he felt. They shielded their ears from flight screaming into land. Rayford tried to calculate how long it would be before this runway was shut down too. He couldn't imagine the other open strips holding many more planes either. Will some have to try to put down on highways or open fields? And how far away from the big cities would they have to look for open stretches of highway unencumbered by bridges? He shuddered at the thoughts. All around were ambulance and other emergency vehicles trying to get to ugly wreckage scenes. Finally, in the terminal, Rayford found crowds standing in lines behind banks of phones. Their cell networks apparently overloaded. Most had angry people waiting, yelling at callers who shrugged and redialed. Oh, hell the fuck no. You better not fucking redial that fucking number again. It's a long ass fucking line. Hurry the fuck up. Jaquise. You see what's that? You see how the fuck I'm handling this shit if I was there. I'm just like, you bitch, I know now. As airport restaurants were already sold out of alone food, and all newspapers and magazines was gone. In shops where staffers had disappeared, looters walked off with merchandise. Rayford wanted more than anything to sit and talk with someone about what to make of this. But everybody he saw, friend, acquaintance, or stranger, was busy trying to make arrangements. O'Hare was like a massive prison with resources dwindling and gridlock growing. No one slept. Everyone scurried about, trying to find some link to the outside world, to contact their families, and to get out of the airport. At the flight center in the bowels of the place, Rayford found much the same thing. Haiti said she was trying making her calls from the lounge, and would meet him later to see if they could share a ride to the suburbs. He knew they were unlikely to find any rides going anywhere, and he didn't relish walking 20 miles. But all hotels in the area were already full. Finally, a supervisor asked for the attention of the flyers in the underground center. We have some secure lines, about 5, he said. Whether you can get through, we don't know. But it's your best chance. They do bypass the normal trunk lines out of here, so you won't be competing with all the payphones in the terminal. Streamline your calls. Also, there are a limited number of helicopter rides available to suburban hospitals and police departments. But nationally, you're secondary to medical emergencies. Get in line over here for phones and rides to the suburbs. Should have been 2 fucking separate lines. Line for the phone, line for the suburbs. Why the fuck is we putting everybody in the same fucking line? Oh my god. I know it's a fucking emergency and shit is popping off, but come on, I need somebody to think. As of right now, we have no word of the cancellation of any flights except for the remainder of today. It's your responsibility to be back here for your next flight. Oh, come on! Is the world not ending? You know what? This sound like real life. Like, the world is fucking ending, and motherfuckers is like, hey, if you're not here tomorrow, we not refunding. You just lost your money. I know you probably lost people, but that ain't our problem. You ain't here tomorrow, you're gonna lose some more. You're gonna lose some more. Like, really? It's your responsibility to be back here for your next flight or to call in and find out its status. Petty. Raymond got in line, beginning to feel the tension of having flown too long and known too little. Worse was the knowledge that he had a better idea than most of what had happened. If he was right, if it were true, he would not be getting the answer when he died home. As he stood there, a TV monitor above him broadcast images of the chaos. From around the globe came wailing mothers, stoning families, reports of death and destruction. Dozens of stories included eyewitnesses who had seen loved ones and families disappear before their eyes. Most shocking to Rayford was a woman in labor, about to go into the delivery room, who was suddenly barren. Now that right there would hurt me. I'm about to give birth to a fucking baby, and all of a sudden, my baby go to heaven. Oh, hell no. My son go to heaven. Oh, hell no. Doctors delivered the placenta. Her husband had caught the disappearance of the fetus on his camcorder. As he shot her great belly and sweaty face, he asked how she felt. How do you think I feel, Earl? Turn the thing off. What was she hoping for? Did they get close enough for me to slug you? Did she realize that in a few moments, they'll be parents? In a minute, you're going to be divorced. Then came the scream and the dropping of the camera, terrified voices, running nurses, and a doctor. CNN reran the footage in super slow motion, showing the woman going from very pregnant to nearly flat stomach, as if she had instantly delivered. Now, watch with us again, the newsman intoned, and keep your eyes on the left edge of your screen, where a nurse appears to be reading the printout from the fetal heart monitor. There, see? The action stopped as the pregnant woman's stomach deflated. The nurse's uniform seems to still be standing as if invisible person is wearing it. She's gone. Half a second later, watch. The image moves ahead and stops. The uniform stocking. Why are you doing that?
I'm not in the camera.
You're not in the camera, but you distracted me.
Oh, okay.
And then you pulling on the chair. And then when you hurt your finger again, then what? The uniform, stockings, and all in a pile atop her shoes. Local television stations from around the world reported bizarre occurrences, especially in time zones where the event had happened during the day or early evening. CNN showed via satellite the video of a groom disappearing while slipping the ring onto his bride's finger. Oh my God! They're getting harder and harder. The funeral home in Australia reported that nearly every mourner disappeared from one memorial service, including the corpse. At least even dead folks going to heaven. At this point, I don't know, Tqueeze. I don't think you would be getting the tickets to heaven. Do you think so? I got too many earthly ways. I know you're like, Tqueeze, didn't you just give your life to the Lord? I did, but I got too many earthly ways that I still have not worked through. While at another service at the same time, only a few disappeared and the corpse remained. Morris also reported corpse disappearances. At a burial, 3 of 6 pallbearers stumbled and dropped the casket when the other 3 disappeared. When they picked up the casket, it too was empty. Rayford was second in line for the phone, but what he saw next on the screen convinced him he would never see his wife again. At the Christian high school soccer game at a missionary headquarters in Indianapolis, most of the spectators and all but one of the players disappeared in the middle of play, leaving their shoes and uniforms on the ground. The CNN reporter announced that in his remorse, the surviving player took his own life. Yeah, I want to combine because, you definitely not going to heaven now. But it was more than remorse. Rayford knew, of all people, that player, a student at the Christian school, would have known the truth immediately. The rapture had taken place. Jesus Christ had returned for his people, and that boy was not one of them. When Rayford sat at his phone, tears streamed down his face. Someone said, "You have 4 minutes," and he knew that would be more than he needed. His answer machine at home picked up immediately, and he was pierced to hear the cheerful voice of his wife. "Your call is important, sir," she said. "Please leave a message after the beep." Raymond punched a few buttons to check the message. He ran 3 or 4 numbers, monotonous ones. Then was started to hear Chloe's voice. "Mom? Dad? Are you there? Have you seen what's going on? Call me as soon as you can. I lost at least 10 students and 2 professors. And all the Mary students' kids disappeared. Is Remy all right? Call me." Well, at least he knew Chloe was still around. All he wanted to do was hold her. Oh, I gotta do 2. Remy redialed and left a message on his own machine. "Irene, Ray, if you're there, pick up. If you get this message, I'm at O'Hara. I'm trying to get home. It may take a while if I don't get a Cooper ride. I'll sure hope you're there." "Let's go, Cap," someone said. "Everyone's got a call to make." Raymond nodded and quickly dialed his daughter's dorm room in Stanford. He got the irritated message that his call could not be completed as dialed. Raymond guarded his belongings and checked his mail slot. Besides the pile of the unusual junk, he found a padded Melinda envelope from his home address. Irene had taken to mailing him little surprising lately. The result of a marriage book she had been urging him to read. He slipped the envelope into his case and went looking for Haiti Durham. At this point, homie, you not gonna be able to. I don't even know. Funny, he had no emotional attraction whatsoever to Haiti just now, but he felt obligated to be sure she got home. As he stood in a crowd by the elevator, he heard the announcement that a helicopter was available for more than 8 pilots and would make a run to Mount Prospect, Airline Heights, and Des Plaines. Rayford hurried to the pad. "Got room for one to Mount Prospect?" "Yep. How about another to Des Plaines? Maybe if he gets here in about 2 minutes. It's not a he. She's a flight attendant. Pilot's only. Sorry. What if you have room?" "Well, maybe, but I don't see her. I'll have her page." "They're not paging anyone." "Give me a second. Don't leave without me." The chopper pilot looked at his watch. 3 minutes, he said. "I'm leaving at once." Raymond left his bags on the ground, hoping it would hold the helicopter pilot in case he was a little late. He charged up the stairs and ascended to the corridor. Where you at, shorty? Finding Haiti would be impossible. He grabbed a courtesy firm. I'm sorry, we weren't able to page anyone just now. This is a emergency, and I am a paying conditional captain. What is it? Have Haiti Durham meet our party at K17. I'll try. Do it! Raymond stood on tiptoes to see Haiti coming. Yet still somehow she surprised him. I was fourth in line for a computer in the lounge, she said, appearing outside. Got a better deal? Got us a helicopter ride if you hurry, he said. As they skipped down the stairs, she said, wasn't it awful about Chris? What about him? You really don't know? Rayford wanted to stop and tell her to quit making him work so hard. That frustrated him about people her age. You're making too much noise, and why are you messing with that box? It's not a toy. Is that a toy? No. So why are you messing with it? They enjoyed a violent conversation game. He liked to get to the point. Just tell me, he said, sounding more exhausted than he intended. As they bust through the door and onto the tarmac, the chopper blades whirled their hair and deafened them. Raymond's bag had already been put on board, and only one seat remained. The pilot pointed at Haiti and shook his head. Only way she's not coming is if you can't handle the weight. What do you wave down? The pilot said. 115. I can handle the weight, he told Raymond. But if she's not buckled in, I'm not responsible. Let's go, Rayford shouted. He buckled himself in, and Haiti sat in his lap. We committed sins. Then the fucking approach, the world just ended. Then God come. I guess God came and got everybody, and everybody else left. It's got to be some form of sentence. Not all the way sentence, but some form of sentence. You know what I'm saying? He buckled himself in, and Haiti sat on his lap. He wrapped his arms around her waist and clapped his wrists together. He thought how ironic it was that he had been dreaming of this for weeks, and now there was no joy, no excitement in it, nothing sensational whatsoever. He was miserable. Glad to be able to help her out, but miserable. Haiti looked embarrassed and uncomfortable, and Rayford noticed she took a sheepish peek at the other 7 pilots in the copter. None seemed to return her glance. This disaster was still too fresh, and there were too many unknowns. Rayford thought he heard or lip-read one of them saying, Christopher Smith, but there was no way he could hear inside the rigorous craft. He put his mouth next to Haiti's ear. Now, what about Chris? He said. She turned and spoke into his ear. They wheeled him past us while I was going into the lounge. Blood all over. What happened? I don't know. But Rayford, he didn't look good. How bad? I think he was dead. They were working on him, but I'll be surprised if he made it. Rayford shook his head. What next? Hold on. Yeah. Rayford shook his head. What next? Did he get hit or something? Did the bus crash? Because I want to know too. Wouldn't that be ironic? I don't know, she said. The blood seemed like it was coming from his head or his wrist or both. Rayford tapped the pilot on his shoulder. Do you know anything about First Officer Christopher Smith? He was Pencon? The pilot said, yes. Was he the suicide? Rayford recoiled. I don't think so. Was there a suicide? Lots of them, I guess. But mostly passengers. Only crew member I heard about was a Smith from Penn. Slit his wrist. Damn. We just looked at homie. We just talked to him. Oh my goodness. Rayford quickly scanned the others in the chopper to see if he recognized anyone. He didn't. But one was not sadly, having overheard the pilot shouting. He leaned forward. Chris Smith? You know him? My first officer. Sorry. What you hear? Don't know how reliable this is, but the rumor is he found out his boys had disappeared and his wife was killed in a wreck. Okay, so maybe he did kill himself. Don't know how reliable this is, but the rumor is he found. Okay, for the first time, the enormity of the situation became personal for Rayford. He didn't know Smith well. He vaguely remembered Chris had 2 sons. Seemed they were young teenagers, very close in age. He never met the wife. But suicide? Was that an option for Rayford? No, not with Chloe still there. But what if he had discovered that Irene and young Gray were gone, and Chloe had been killed? What would he have to live for? True. He hadn't been living for them anyway. Certainly not the last several months. He had been playing around on the edge of his mind with a girl in his lap, though he had never gone so far as touching her, even when she often touched him. Would he want to live if Haiti Durham were the only person he cared about? And why did he care about her? She was beautiful and sexy and smart, but only for her age. They had little in common. Was it only because he had convinced Irene was gone that he now longed to hold his own wife? There was no affection in his embrace of Haiti Durham just now, nor in hers. Both were scared to death, and flirting was the last thing on their minds. The irony was not lost to him. He recalled that the last thing he daydreamed about before Haiti's announcement was finally making a move on her. How could he have known she would be in his lap hours later and that he would have no more interest in her than a stranger? The first stop was the Plains police department where Haiti disembarked. Rayford advised her to ask for a ride home with the police if a squad car was available. Most had been pressed into a service in more congested areas, so that was unlikely. I'm only about a mile from here anyway, Haiti shouted above the roar as Rayford helped her from the chopper. I can walk. She wrapped her arms around his neck in a fierce embrace, and he felt her quiver in fear. I hope everyone's okay at your place, she said. Call me and let me know, okay? He nodded. Okay, she insisted. Okay. As he lifted off, he watched her survey the parking lot. Spotting no squad car, she turned and hurried off, pulling her suitcase on wheels. By the time the helicopter began to swing toward Mount Prospect, Haiti was trotting toward her condominium. Okay, so we just dropped off Haiti. His best friend, his co-captain committed suicide. Now we gotta go look. Let's see if we can find Chloe in the next chapter. That's what the goal is. We are going home to see if we're going to get Chloe, because we know Irene and Ray, our wife and our son, have went to heaven. We know this. If that's what's popped off right now, we know they have went to the great beyond. And we just need to be here for our daughter, and hopefully, she not too broken up about what's going on. What's wrong?
They trying to see me.
I'm about to go on my next video.
Well, look, what?
Go spit it out.